What's going on YouTube? My name's Travis and welcome back to our vintage boat restoration. Today we're going to be working on patching a couple rotten spots on the sides of our boat. On our last video we worked on taking the boat apart, removing the old rotten floor. We found both of the seats were actually rotten as well, so those have been removed now. So now we're just working on patching up some of these small rotten portions, and then we can start adding our new floor and putting the boat back together. So this is what we're going to be working on today. So this is the front portion of the boat. This is where the seat goes. So we removed all the old rotten wood, but unfortunately some of that moisture has gone over into the sides of the boat here. Our goal for this project is to try and keep it as original as possible, and overall these sides are actually in really good shape given their age. So there's a couple soft spots here, so my plan is to Dremel out all the rotten portions. The actual outside is still looking good, so there's probably just a couple layers of this plywood that is rotten. So we're going to Dremel all that out, get it all nice and cleaned out, and then we're going to be using a Bondo fiberglass body filler to fill and smooth out these portions again. I don't know if you can see this here, but there's just a couple spots on the inside here that are a little soft and spongy. So the backside's still all nice and hard, but right here it's all soft and spongy. So we're going to be cleaning these areas out, identify all those areas here as well as on the top, and just grind all those out and get it down to some decent wood. So before we get started here with the Dremel, I just want to touch on a little bit of safety. So anytime you're using a rotary tool, I like to make sure that you're always using a set of safety glasses as well as a face shield. It may be a little overkill, but you only get one set of eyes, so you might as well go extra safe. Well, I've got a good chunk of it ground out here. There's still a couple soft spots I'm going to grind out. And then this big hole here, I think I'm going to fill with fiberglass, just simply because it's a little bit larger than I anticipated. So I will finish grinding all the rest of this out here and then start filling it up. Looks like the bottom of this, or the back of this seat here, the whole bottom's rotted out. So I think I'm just going to completely remove this seat and just pattern it and rebuild it, because I'd have to grind out the whole bottom of this, and then it would be quite the mess to fix. So we'll pattern this and make a new seat back and finish grinding this out, and then we'll start filling it. Alright, so I finished grinding out all the soft spots in the wood on this side here, so the rest is all pretty solid here. So unfortunately I think there's a bit of a puddle sitting in the bottom of the boat here while it was sitting outside, so quite a bit of this wood on this side is fairly damp, so I'm going to give it a couple days to dry out. I'm going to try something. I have no idea if it's going to work. I'm going to just clamp some boards along the bottom here and then just put some your average dry rice sitting on top here. I'm thinking that might help pull some of the moisture out. I don't want to patch any of this and have that moisture stuck inside the wood, so I'm going to do that, see if it helps it out, give it a couple days, and we'll see how it goes. Well, there we go. It looks completely ridiculous, but hey, I guess if it works for drying out cell phones and electronics, hey, maybe it'll work for old boats. So we'll see what happens in a couple days. Well, I got a little busy this week, and so it's been about a week since we put this rice on these wet spots. So we're gonna get it all cleaned up and then see if it did anything. I'm actually a little blown away how well this worked. All that dry rice just pulled all the moisture out of this wood, so it's all dried up and looks like it should be good to work with now. My original plan was to fill the wood we ground out first before putting the floor back in, but unfortunately there's been a bit of a cold snap here and I'm a little bit worried that it won't set up correctly in the garage. So I'm gonna wait for a little bit of warmer weather and we'll get the floor in first. The next part I'm going to build are these beams that run across the width of the boat. So this is what attaches the boat to the pontoons. Quite a few of them are rotted off. This one was good, so I'm gonna use this and pattern it. The tricky part here is it's all squared off here, but there's a bit of a notch that's cut out here that runs the width of the beam, and that just is there to accommodate the floor. Now we're going to try and get this notch cut out and recreate these. So I've got this original beam clamped to the new stock that I have, so I'm just gonna use a pencil, trace it out as best I can here. I'm using a jigsaw to get the basic shape. It won't be pretty, but at least it'll get the basic shape and then we can sand it down from there. So I got all the new beams cut out. They're pretty rough. There's quite a few high spots and uneven spots from the jigsaw. So I've got them all clamped onto the original beam here. So I'm just going to use a plane and take off some of the high spots and then just sand them down and get them all nice and uniform. Well, it took an absolute pile of sanding and rasping and everything, but I think I got these pretty even with the pattern I have here. So we're gonna line up the holes and drill these holes out, and then these will be all done. I finished off the beams, so here's what kind of the original looks like. There's that notch. And here's the one I made. I'm pretty happy with the way it actually turned out. They line up really nice. I drilled the holes for the bolts to go through, and I think they're gonna fit really, really nice. Since I ran these through the table saw, they have nice, clean, square edges. The old ones had rounded off ones, so the notches in the boat were rounded off, so I had to take a file, square those off so that this beam can fit nice and flush. I'm going to wood glue these into place and then use some of the old brass screws and just put one screw on either side connecting it to the boat. Then once we put the floor in, the floor will screw to these beams as well as the rest of the perimeter of the boat, so it'll create a really solid structure. These brass screws are quite finicky. If you don't drill a big enough pilot hole, which I didn't, the heads just twist right off. I had to get a set of vice grips and back out the old screws and drill a bigger pilot hole, and now I have a couple screws in here. So I've got 2 more of these beams to install. Just have to, again, file them down, get it so it fits really nice and flush here, and then we can start looking at putting the floor in. So we're finally ready to start installing the floor. The original floor used these brass screws on the beams and then ring nails for the perimeter of the boat. I'm a little worried that this wood is a little too delicate here, so I'm going to be using those brass screws on the beams, and then I've got these long nails that I'll use along the perimeter, and then as well we're just going to use some wood glue just to give it a little extra support. Well, the floor's back in our boat and it's starting to take shape. We're all done the dismantling and removing all the wood. This boat still has a long way to go. In our next video, I'm going to be focusing on patterning out the seats that we removed, all those rotten pieces, and getting those installed back in the boat. After that, we still have to fill in all the voids from where we removed all the rotten wood, and then prep this thing and get it ready for paint. So I hope you enjoyed the second video of our vintage boat restoration series. If you have any questions, please comment below, and remember to like and subscribe for more adventure projects.